Yes, Kaden.
So basically you do it, but what happens, like, you have to put 5 and you have -10.
Okay. So he said, what if we have +5 and a -10? Well, let's look. So my first picture is going to have 5 positive counters. My next one is going to have 10 negative counters. Now, you can continue down the page with your counters if you want, or you can make a second row. Okay. So what can I do with this first positive and negative? Create a zero pair, cross them out. And I'm going to continue to do that as long as I can. So what do I wind up with?
A -5.
-5.
Wait, why did you put another dot on the other side?
Because I had to have 10 of them.
So you just did like. If a bigger number is a negative, that's the total of it.
All right, Miss Lee, would somebody in your class like to come up with a math problem for us? Tell them don't make the numbers too big because we do have to do dots.
It is coming up with one right now.
Okay.
All right, Liv says +4 plus negative
Plus negative what?
8.
8. Okay. +4 plus -8.
-4.
Okay, I hear +4s, I have -4s. So why don't you do your picture and see what you come up with? Okay, Miss Sauer, does somebody from your class want to tell us their answer?
Or say it loud.
-4. Excellent. Okay, Miss Sauer, your class's turn to come up with a problem.
-7 plus 8.
-7 plus 8. Now, do I have to put the positive on this number?
No.
No, you don't. If you did, then that's fine.
That's not even positive. No. Oh, yeah.
So how do you find out if it's positive or negative?
Okay, you look at what's left. It is +1. Good, Mason. So right here, I have 2 negatives and 2 positives. I can go ahead and cross those out all the way across to make a zero pair. And I can do the same thing here.
Wait, so, but is that a positive rate?
This would be a +8 because it's yellow, and I've been using yellows for positive.
Oh, yeah,
So it would be a +1. Okay?
So over on the other side, would it be negative?
Yep, because they were underneath the -7.
Oh, but then why was that one -4?
Because they were red.
Oh, I see it now.
All right, I'm going to switch to the next page. Let's see. Serena, will you come up with a math problem for us?
Make it a marker.
Positive 5 plus negative 12.
Okay, so she wants positive 5 plus negative 12. There is something that you might see, excuse me, so I want to draw your attention to it. You might find parentheses around a negative number. The only reason that the parentheses are there is because they want you to know that that is a negative and not a minus. They're showing you that that negative belongs to that number. So they're kind of like putting like a fence around it so that the dog stays at the house. The negative stays at the number. Okay? So I do want you to be aware of that. I also want you to be aware of sometimes you won't see dots. Sometimes you will see pluses or minuses. So you might find 5 pluses like that. And you might find 12 minuses. Right?
What is it?
It's the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to mark them out, 0 pairs. And what are we left with? Negative 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Negative 7. Okay, this next part, I've already come up with the problems. We're going to solve them and then we're going to stop and analyze them. What does it mean when we analyze something? Brandon?
Make sure that we got them right.
Make sure we have complete the answer.
To really look over what we did and make sure we did it correctly and figure out what the information's telling us, right? Okay, so this first problem, I want you to do positive 1 plus positive 4.
This will be easy.
I don't know why I put an extra dot. I'm sorry. I made a mistake, guys. I put an extra dot. Don't look at mine. Okay. So what is our answer here?
Positive 5.
Oh, I heard a 3, a positive 5, a 1,
Positive 5.
positive 5. Good.
That's basically regular, it's just positive.
Positive
There's
plus
there is no negative.
There's no 0 pairs. Nothing can be canceled out. You can't cancel out something that belongs to the same color.
If it was a negative, how would
So we would wind up with positive 5. For the next problem, I want you to try positive 1 plus negative 4. So I'll start adding in my pictures. Positive 1 plus negative 4. We do have opposite colors here, so we can make a 0 pair, leaving us with 1, 2, 3 negatives. So our answer would be negative 3.
Miss, I have a question.
What?
Is it possible for it to be like negative 1.5 plus positive 1.5?
Yes, so Brandon just asked a question. Is it possible for you to use like decimals or fractions that are positives and negatives? Yes, they will work the same way, but there's no reason for us to work with that right now. Let's just focus on whole numbers, okay? All right, so let's look at the same numbers in a different order. What if I did negative 1 plus negative 4? Negative 1 plus negative 4. So as you can see, we have no zero pairs, so nothing cancels out, and you look at what you're left with. What are we left with?
-5.
-5. Okay. And for our last one, I want us to do -1 plus +4. -1 plus +4.
Positive.
We do have opposite colors, which means we can make a zero pair. And what we're left with is what?
Positive 3.
+3.
Wait, positive only, right?
So what we're going to do here is we're going to analyze what just happened. All of them were addition problems, correct?
Yes.
All of them used the same two numbers, but they were either positive or negative, correct? So when we had a positive plus a positive, we wound up with a, when we had a positive plus a negative,
End up with a negative.
but down here we had a positive plus a negative and ended up with a, so how can we tell what's going on? Let's see, Lottie.
The way the problem is set up.
Okay, Lottie says maybe it's the way the problem was set up. Sarah, what do you think?
I think that the bigger number, like, will determine if it's a positive or a negative.
Okay, Kaden, what do you think?
I think it's the answer because they use two same answers, but there's different problems. Like, they use
Okay.
different.
So you're saying the numbers are the same, but the way it was set up changes, okay, the outcome? All right, Miss Sauer, do you have anybody in your class who has an idea?
Anybody have an idea? No, it doesn't appear to be that anybody has any thoughts that are any different. Oh, Ellen. Because the positive number was bigger than the negative. What? Because the positive number was bigger than the negative what? The answer would be positive.
So just like what Sarah said. So it looks, and that was Ellen that said that?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Lee, what about your room?
Anaya has been wanting to answer. So
Okay.
Anaya, why don't you jump in?
Oh, no. It depends if it's a positive or a negative.
Okay, what depends on if it's a positive or a negative?
The numbers.
Okay. So are you saying the size of the number or?
You will get a different sum if it depends on if the number is a positive or a negative.
Okay, awesome. So Sarah, Ellen, and Anaya are kind of all onto something. They said, okay, so when they're both positives, we wound up with a positive. When they were both negative, we wound up with a negative. But when they were opposite, our answer was determined, if it was positive or negative, based on which number in the problem was the bigger number. So in the first, the second one where we had -1 plus, or +1 plus -4, our answer wound up negative because 4 is bigger than 1, right? And if you look right below it, we wound up with a positive answer because 4 was bigger than 1. So this is where we find our first rule for adding integers. So I'm going to write the rule down at the bottom of my paper. When adding integers, Okay. If the signs are the same, add and use that sign. Okay, so just like right here, when we had two positives, we used a positive. When we had two negatives, we used a negative. So when the signs are the same, add them up and use that sign. When the signs are different,
Bigger numbers.
you want to subtract and use the sign of the bigger digit. So when the signs are different, you're going to subtract and use the sign of the bigger digit. And we can see that right here. I had +1 and -4, so we subtracted them to get 3, and we left the negative because the 4 was the bigger digit. -1 and +4, subtracted them to get 3. 4 was a bigger digit, so we kept the sign of being positive. Give you just a couple more seconds to finish writing that down.
He's been working out there the whole day.
Okay. I will put pictures of my notes into Canvas so that you can finish them up if you didn't finish them. Because I know that some of you were trying to catch up. Now, are there any questions about anything? Anybody say, I don't understand this, or can you show me an example of this, or would it work if? This is that time to ask all that. Anybody in the other classrooms?
Anybody have a question or what if?
What is a model? What you just made. So Lottie said, well, what is a model?
Ranker.
A model is the same pictures that we just made. Yes. Yes, Miss Sauer?
Ellen put one in the chat.
Okay. I can't see my chat because I'm using my iPad for projecting and zooming. So if a teacher wants to read it or if she wants to unmute and ask it.
I have a student that asked, will there ever be a new sign like dividing or multiplying?
Yes, but we're going to start with just adding first. We need to get adding under our belt before we start throwing in all the other ones, because there are different rules for different operations.
Thank you.
Was that Ellen's question?
It was not.
Okay. Ellen, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. I was just wondering if the follow-up work dragging thing, if there's like any kind of way it can be made easier, like if you can copy it or paste it or whatever, because it just takes me a long time to drag each one.
All right, so you're already moving ahead and you're in the assignment?
I just started it before the Zoom started.
Okay, I'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Okay, so now if everybody will go ahead and switch over to Canvas.